Hello, I'm Matthew Glassman, Double Edge Theater. Here we are in Ashfield at the farm. We are presenting the Firebird, based on the Russian folktale, the Firebird, and other legends and myths related to the Firebird and the Phoenix. We open tomorrow night, so we're in the process of trying to finish making this performance. What can I say about the Firebird and about Marc Chagall and about my trip to Russia, which just happened a couple months ago? At this stage, it's too early for me to draw any conclusions, but what I can say is that I know very little about Russian folk tales. I know a little bit about the art of Marc Chagall, and I know very little bit about Russian culture. What I fell in love with in this project so far is the essence of the fairy tale, or the world of the fairy tales, which I feel like with the Firebird and in the work and art of Marc Chagall, it's a very rich world, a very human world, one that's filled with imagination and both richness and subtlety, and more than anything, I'd say humanity. This is what I really love about it. That there's this deep quality of the human imagination. And in a time like now where there seems to be a lot of destruction, a lot of disconnect, a lot of isolation, both between people and between cultures and between people and nature, nothing seems richer to me than to be investigating and exploding this world of work. The Firebird, where animals and people are talking to each other, where nature is conspiring to fulfill the potential of these human beings.
Tell me a little bit about your trip to Moscow in the spring.
My first trip to Moscow, this was April, I think, was amazing. It was too short. It was only a week, but I found the whole experience to be so rich and overwhelmingly rich that I want to go back. The first things that come to mind are a few things that are probably connected. The trip to St. Basilio's Cathedral was sort of mind-blowing and spiritual and artistically captivating. It changed my perspective on art and architecture and culture, I'd say.
Can you say why a little bit? I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Well, I just had never experienced architecture like that. I'd never gotten close to something that filled with so much color, so much craziness, yet coherence at the same time. Something that seemed to transgress even time in a way. The ballooning tops of the buildings, the spinning colors, the sense of intimacy and grandeur together. It took me to some other place. The sense of ornament, the sense of grandeur was just great, as well as accessibility. And the scale just went everywhere. So for me, that was quite an experience, and it was like going inside a story, going inside a painting.
Yeah. And do you have any kind of background with any Russian background?
Well, yeah, that's another thing that's interesting, is that almost all of my family came from Russia and the Ukraine around the turn of the 20th century. Many of them came from Odessa and Kiev, and I know that some of my family had been working and were allowed to work in some places in Moscow where at that time Jews weren't necessarily always allowed to take part in certain jobs and tasks. So seeing there and going back to some historical moments was interesting personally for me, knowing that my family came from there.